Hello everyone. A solitary fantasy can actually transform a million realities. As a child, I always dreamt I had the magic lamp of Aladdin. Which when rubbed could give me the powers to communicate with animals, exactly how Mowgli had during the Jungle Book. So every night I manifested running and playing with the wolf pups, sharing honey with Balu the bear and cuddling up to him, and of course, settling down for a nice conversation and gaining wisdom from Bagheera the Black Panther. Now, I loved the story so much that I literally grabbed the first opportunity I got to go to Pench National Park, where the fabled forests of Seoni existed. And it was exactly how I'd imagined. Tall, towering trees, gurgling streams, and the icing on the cake was I got to see Sher Khan in person. Now, one word for the trip: mesmerizing. But I came back home to a news that shook me out of this dream world and brought me crashing back to reality. Panna Tiger Reserve that particular year had lost all of its tiger population to poaching. Now the news not only opened my eyes, of course it broke my heart, but I got to know what humans were actually doing to our planet. And I did not like that. It ignited a fire in my belly, and basically, I did not want to live in a world where majestic species like the tiger did not roar. But I had no superpowers. I was a 12-year-old kid, but I knew of one tool which could create a colossal impact: the camera. I wondered that if I could fall in love with Komodo dragons by just watching them on television, I felt that maybe I could create a similar impact by clicking pictures during my forest adventures. So at the age of 12, I picked up a tiny point and shoot, but with a big vision: to stimulate the minds of young children, enable them to dream about enchanting forests and incredible wildlife, and awaken their desire to protect the natural world. So I started by giving peer-to-peer workshops in schools and colleges, sharing my forest adventures with them. And as I went along, I noticed that the more pictures I showed the children, the more connected they felt with nature and more they wanted to protect it. So this inspired me actually to become a wildlife storyteller, creating impact-driven content for mainstream broadcast. Because at the end of the day, visual storytelling is one of the most powerful tools that transcends mere documentation. Still photographs and documentaries in tandem, they wield a transformative influence on how people understand and perceive the natural world. So whilst, holding the camera and pressing the shutter button may look really cool and simple on the outside, let me tell you, for the person actually holding the camera, it can be quite the opposite. Because storytelling is an intense creative process where pre-visualization, perspective, and perception, all these three play a really important role. In less than 3 seconds, we have to decide on a number of different parameters, more than 30 in fact, to be able to click that wow shot. That's the reason why, for photographers like me, pre-visualization actually helps us transcend the gap between imagination and reality, enabling us to create works of art that are both evocative and inspiring. And this technique isn't just limited to artists, let me tell you. Even sportsmen use it. The great boxer Muhammad Ali had once said that, "If my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it." Visualization allows you to set parameters to make your future life vision a reality. Now, this happens to be one of my favorite photographs in my collection. Thousands of fireflies under the starlit sky of Bhandardara in Maharashtra. Now, this image did not happen by chance. I envisaged it in my mind, went out in the field and got it right. So the firefly season in Maharashtra begins somewhere just before the monsoon and only lasts for a few days, which means I had a really short window to capture these marvels. And to make things even more difficult, I wanted to photograph them against the stars in the sky, which meant I had to coincide my visit with a new moon because that's the time when the stars shine the brightest. But unfortunately, during that particular year, there wasn't a new moon during the dates the fireflies were active. So my next best option was to pick a date when the moonset was, say, around 6 p.m. Thankfully, there was one such date. So I packed my bags, went out of the field. It was a very long and tiring hike, let me tell you, alone in the twilight. And finally, I came across this one tree which was completely lit with fireflies, okay, top to bottom. They were shining like yellow orbs. And that particular night, I actually witnessed 1 million fireflies light up the darkness in their bioluminescent frenzy. It's a display of passion, basically, by male fireflies in an attempt to elicit the female's response and propel his genes to the next generation. Standing there in front of the tree, I felt as if I was in Narnia or, say, Pandora for that matter. Not to mention the number of mosquitoes that actually feasted on my blood. They also had a field day, so did I. Anyway, I got the shot that I wanted. But actually speaking, in terms of the fireflies in India, the species, they flash intermittently, and their flashes are in patterns. So at no particular point in time, to the naked eye, can you literally see the entire tree lit with fireflies at one single time. So then how did I manage to capture it in a frame? So I used 2 different techniques, one of focus stacking and the other of image stacking to actually capture this image. So this photograph isn't exactly the photograph taken right out of the camera, and I'm showing you this. It's an amalgamation of 28 different photographs. So this is how each of them look like. Nothing unusual, nothing extraordinary. But when combined, they became magical. Now, this image went on to win at the Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards in London, and which is considered to be the Oscars of wildlife photography, and I became the first Indian woman to actually do so in the adult category. So you see, actually what stands between us and some of our even most ambitious dreams has far less to do with possessing some magical skill or talent, and far more to do with how we look at problems and come up with solutions to solve them. Now, one of the biggest challenges that I actually faced when I put together my first feature documentary was, how do I tell a story of a tiger that strikes a chord with the audience? I wanted people to love, laugh, celebrate, and cry with the tiger. But in India, there is a dichotomy of human emotions when it comes to these predators. So on one side, they're deeply loved and respected and revered, but on the other, they're passionately despised for their killer instincts. Even globally, for that instance, people perceive big cats to be brutal carnivores, killers without any emotions. But in reality, that is so not true. Close encounters with them helped me realize and discover actually individualism among big cats, and has completely changed my perception about them. I learned that their world too has got love, sorrow, grief, passion, even revenge and jealousy for that matter. So I told the story of Maya, who happens to be a very beautiful, enigmatic Bengal tigress from the forests of Tadoba in central India, in a very different way. I showed her not as a tiger, okay, but as an individual, as a queen, as a daughter, and as a mother who would do anything to protect her family and her kingdom. And the film went on to premiere globally on National Geographic Wild, airing in over 127 different countries, and it still continues to air on a multiple international television platforms. Since then, I've actually been very fortunate to document the life stories of 3 out of the 7 big cat species of the world. And I've actually come to understand and realize that each of these cats have an individual personality, distinct personality, just like us humans. So I want you all to meet Noor. She's a feisty Asiatic lioness living in the human-dominated landscape of Gir in Gujarat. And this is Rana. He is a charmer, a ladies' man, a Casanova, and a heartthrob among all the female leopards of Jalana in Rajasthan. So working with them, I've realized that if you can dig close and reach deep, you'd understand and discover the individual characteristics that make these predators so unique. I've been fortunate to witness Maya strategically trained her cubs to hunt because she wanted them to be independent at a very early age, because she, as a tigress, was orphaned when as a sub-adult cub, and she did not want her cubs to suffer the same fate should anything happen to her. I've seen Noor stand up to a rival male even though she was injured in order to protect her firstborn. And I've seen two females jealously fight for the attention of Rana, who, by the way, was candidly chilling up a tree and watching the catfight unfold beneath him. So it's instances like these that are actually changing our very understanding and perception of big cats. And as a storyteller, I enjoy shining a light on their individual personality, because this is something that science doesn't do actually. For me, storytelling is all about delving into the realm of perception, freezing time, emotions, and perspective. It acts as a conduit through which the storyteller interprets the world, shaping reality through their unique perception. So every frame becomes a moment frozen in time, and every documentary becomes a catalyst for social change. So through the films that I direct and produce, I want my viewers to question their assumptions, confront their biases, and reconsider their perspectives. The power lies not only in the information presented, but also in the emotional impact of witnessing these iconic predators and their struggles and their triumphs. So if you just allow your mind to open up to the world around you, you'd actually realize that the perception you have of the world can change in pretty cool and amazing ways. Life at the end of the day is like a canvas. What the final picture will be totally depends on you and you only. You can choose to be a thermostat or a thermometer. It's totally up to you. And just as a wildlife storyteller was able to capture the beauty of our untamed and wild planet through our camera's lens, you can capture the beauty of a better future through the lens of your imagination. You can have the life that you so much desire, just as we are able to get the shots that we so much desire. All you need to do is just visualize it, believe in it, and create a plan and execute your vision and turn it into a reality. So let us together unleash the boundless powers of our minds, and let our collective imagination actually be the driving force behind the creation of a world that's more equitable, more sustainable, and more awe-inspiring than we can ever imagine. Thank you so much.